Heaven, there is joy today for a soul returning from the wild. His father meets him out upon the way, welcoming his weary wandering child. Glory, glory, how the loud harps ring. Glory, glory, how the loud harps ring. 'Tis a ransom army like a mighty sea, pealing forth the anthem of the free. Ring the bells of heaven, spread the feast today. Angels swell the glad triumphant strain. Tell the joyful tidings, bear it far away, for a precious soul is born again. Glory, glory, how the angels sing. Glory, glory, how the loud harps ring. 'Tis the ransom army like a mighty sea, pealing forth the anthem of the free. Thank you, Mr. Charles. We're continuing on with our study with Moses. When you stop and you think of Moses, how are we coming on our devotions? When you stop and think, it's easy to get sidetracked, isn't it? It's easy to fall behind. We're still getting too wrapped up in this world. When you look at this week's lesson, it's delivered by Outstretched arm. Why do we go through trials? In the beginning, we reflected on our own lives, situations that we have going on. How do we come before God? I put Mr. Tizik on the hot seat. How much did cancer change your belief in God? A lot. Did not other people see your transformation? Do you think without cancer, do you think your faith would be as strong as it is now? All right. But when you stop and you think, God's got to bend that knee. He's got to let you see you're not invincible. You can't go through this world without Him. So when you stop and you think, as horrible as that cancer was, as much suffering as you went through, the pain, the agony, do you think God forgot you? Do you think God had to let you see you can't beat cancer? There's nothing you can do. You're helpless. But all of a sudden, when you started learning that and you started reading more and studying, you got in contact who God was. You understood what's the worst thing that can happen to you? I die, I go to heaven, okay? I beat cancer and people see me as a testimony and I'm given a second chance. What's bad about that? Now, when you were going through it, it weren't easy, was it? It's just like someone drowning from a boat. When you stick that arm out, they're pulling, aren't they? They want help. So at some point, God has got to bend your knee somehow, some fashion.
It may not be for you to learn. It may be for someone else to grow. Did you think when you become a Christian, just like me and Miss Mary Jo were talking, did you think Satan was going to back off and go, whoop, you're out of bounds. I can't touch you. You're a Christian. What do you think Satan did? Satan goes, whoa, wait a minute. That's an enemy. That is their best player. I've got to attack. It's just like any of us with a family, if he can't get Brother Jesse to turn, no matter what he's been through, and he keeps hitting him time and time again, guess who he's going for next? He's coming for your family. He's not going to back off. Do you think Satan's going to play fair? If he can't get you, he's going for your spouse. If he can't get your spouse, who's he going for then? Your kids. But when we understand these things, we can now start preparing. And that's where the children of Israel, they're at. God gave them a promise. In chapter 4, if you'll think back, when God told Moses what to say to Pharaoh, what did he also say? I will harden his heart, and he will not let you go. And then it kept going, and what did God say would happen to the firstborn sons? Now this is in chapter 4. Before the first time Moses went to Pharaoh. And Moses went to the children of Israel. He showed them the signs, and they believed. And then Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh the first time and just said, let my people go. Didn't show them the signs then. That doesn't come until chapter 7. But at that point, were they surprised? What did God say in chapter 4? He's not going to let them go. He's not going to give up without a fight. Did Moses remember that part? Or did he expect, oh, how many times do we listen to instructions and instead of going A, B, C, D down the line, we go, here's the photo, let's fix it. We get all assembled and we're like, where's this doomahickey on that thingamadoodle go? Has anyone done that? I'll never forget my father, being a mechanic, he never reads instructions. Hence, I don't either, hence why we mess stuff up. It was one Christmas, my father suffered from severe cluster migraine headaches, and he was putting together Christmas for my foster brothers. And it hit severe headaches. I mean, he's putting the stuff together. We're swapping wash rags out. He's doing anything humanly possible, trying to get the headache to ease up. Can't. And Mom's now stuck looking at all the pieces, trying to put it together. How easy would it have been, first of all, to plan, listen to where you're going to be, and follow the directions. So when you stop, let's open up our Bible, go to Exodus chapter 6. We're going to read verses 6 through 8. It says, wherefore, say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord. And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage. And I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God. And he shall know that I am the Lord your God, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of Egypt. Egyptians, and I will bring you in unto the land concerning the which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And I will give it you for an inheritance. I am the Lord. When you stop and you think, God is all powerful. He created this earth. And it's real funny when you stop. I heard something this week that really struck me odd. And it come from someone, I don't know their testimony. I understand the fruits that I see from them. But they go, Roy, we got a question. The Big Bang Theory. I said, okay. I said, I don't believe it. And they go, we don't either. Because how does nothing create a bang and make something? When they said that, I go, you know, that's a very good point. There's nothing. So how was there a big bang? It's amazing to me how many excuses we can come up with. But the children of Israel, they didn't understand where they were. They had drifted away. And when Moses gave them, hey, I'm going to deliver you. But Pharaoh's not going to let you go easy. What part did they miss? Real quick. They're like, well, wait a minute. Moses, you went and spoke with Pharaoh, and Pharaoh made our burdens harder. They're not easy. We're having to do more work. We're having to go grow our straw, harvest it to make these bricks for them. Don't talk anymore. Let's negotiate a deal. First of all, who made the crops grow? Who gave them the knowledge on how to grow them? Who provided for them? Why was that important? God prepares us. He's teaching us the whole time. Satan wants to derail you. When you look at our society right now, the way it's going, I can't work, there's COVID. What did the government do? Here's money. Oh, I can't because of this. Government gives you more money. What's going to happen when money runs out? When you stop and you think you have no training, no education, no job, no food, no nothing, let's back up a minute. Oh, that's slavery, I'm sorry. You're not going to have to work, barter, and trade, and you have nothing to offer, so you're not going to get nothing. So one of two things are going to be. A, you're going to be a slave. B, you're going to die. One of the two. But we're so naive, we're like the children of Israel. Oh, you say it's going to be easy. When you stop and you think, the first blank that you have is redemption. Redemption. When you stop and you think, the children of Israel become discouraged. They sort of lost their path. It's not easy when hard times come to you. A lot of times I've used this illustration. I asked the ladies in here, it's not easy giving birth to a child. It's painful. The 9 months you go through, the delivery and everything, it's not easy. How many in here can tell me exactly how the pain was of going through birth? Okay, now tell me, break it on even further down. I want to know exactly how the pain feels, the intensity. Can you remember that much? When you stop and you think, though, what happens when they set that child to the mother? Oh, it's worth it. Wait a minute, getting hit by a train? Mr. Colvin, does that sound worth anything to you, getting hit by a train? But we change. It's worth it. You see the struggles you went through and what you got, right? You created something. How is it in our struggles right now? I go back to Brother Westbrook's ministry. Do you think that God forgot those people in Trinidad? Okay, so why is it important for us to pray for them? Why is it important for them to understand there is an Almighty God? He hasn't forgot them. Is it amazing to you, or a question to you, Miss Mary Jo, that these people are now going back to church? That God didn't forget them? That He took care of their needs? He's an awesome God. I don't care where you are in this world. He's never forgot you. Even when you were going through that pain of getting hit by a train. That's where the children of Israel had to understand. God had to go, let them suffer and go through this struggle so they understood what God is capable of. If I just gave a child $1 million, how long would they keep that $1 million? Not long. They'd be at the local candy store, the local Walmart, GameStop, getting a cell phone, getting trivial stuff that will blow away at nothing. But let's give $1 million to someone who's more experienced in handling money. How long would that money last? A long time. Because we understand how hard that money is to come by, and we're going to make it count. So that's where God was. He wanted them to understand, first of all, God chose them. When you come to God and you tell Him, look, I am a wretched sinner. I have nothing to offer you. I am worthless. I am the lowly of lowlies. I'm half a step below belly button length. And God goes, I want you. You're on my team. Brings us to a next blank in your book or page. It's called deliverance. God assured His people He would bring them out of bondage. Does God lie? Could God lie? No. He told them in chapter 4, hey, Pharaoh's not going to let you go. It's going to get so bad that the firstborn sons are going to die, but I will bring you out. When you stop and you think, how often are we lied to by the world? I give you an example in the book. It says a man once needed some same-day dry cleaning done, so he stopped in at a store called 1 Hour Dry Cleaners. He brought it in his suit and filled out the tag mentioning he'd be back in an hour to pick it up. To his surprise, the clerk said, oh no, it won't be ready for 2 days. He goes, well, wait a minute, what about the 1 hour? And they go, oh, that's just the name of the business. It's a shock, isn't it? That's how the world is today. We forget, it lies to us. I hate to say it, doctors can only give educated guesses on what their level is. My God has brought dead people back to life. Who should I give more credence to? My God has healed leprosy. Why would I question Him when He's never lied to me? But the world has. But every time we turn back to listen to the world. Next is the provision of freedom. I think B was deliverance. See, I don't have one of those sheets. First is redemption.
Is that number one?
Yeah, number one is redemption. Next one's deliverance. And then freedom. Huh? When you stop and you think, what is freedom? What, Miss Jill? It's not free. For those people who've been through the military, as you're going through boot camp, what's a nice sign you got reminded of? My recruiter said, am I wrong? When you stop and you think, that recruiter, what's his job? To get you in, right? Now, I got a question. If we put on the label, hey, look, for the freedom of our country, we're going to fly you into a foreign world or a country. You will be abused, neglected, tromped on, spit on. You can't do nothing about it. But you're going to stand that line for our freedom. We have July 4th. We have special things for our veterans. Does that equal to the suffering they have gone through? So tell me how our freedom is free. It's not. Just like Miss Jill said, there's a consequence. There's a cost. Did you think your Christianity, your salvation would be free? Does you forgot to read your book? Because in the book, who had to pay the cost? Jesus. He suffered on the cross. He bled for you. He died for you. It's easy if I'm an NFL football player to kneel for the flag. Because he's never given anything up. He has never suffered anything. But let him blow a leg out or lose his job. Oh, and real quick, oh, the world's mean to me. No. Welcome to reality. I bet you if we paid our veterans what we pay NFL football players and switched the role and let that NFL football player get the salary that our men and women are getting paid to defend us, I bet you'd see that role change real quick. It's just like in law enforcement. It's easy to set back and second judge them. You never know when you're going down that dark alley and someone pulls something in your face. You don't know what it is. But our society wants us to wait until something bad happens to that officer. Please tell me, where did he sign up that says he would give up his freedoms? He didn't. But that's where the children of Israel are. They thought that, hey, God said He's delivering us. Yay, let's have a party, and we're just going to walk out of Egypt. God had to let them see He is still God. He is on the throne. There's nothing He can't do. And He's getting ready to show Pharaoh. That's why in our lives we forget what we've been through. That's why it's important to reflect when you've had dark times in your life, to look back at them and grow from it so you can see what God has done for you. So you can experience, hey, God chose you. God wanted you on His team. How old was Moses during this time? How old? 40. When you stop and you think, that's when he started. How many of y'all in here are looking, hey, I'm too old, I can't do anything? God's already prepared you. You've been through the trials, the tribulations. You've been through the fire. You know what God can save you from. But why are we sitting back? The next one after freedom is redemption. That was the final part of the promise. In Exodus chapter 6, verse 6, and God said, I will redeem you with a stretched out arm. Do you think, Miss Carol, your burden is the same as mine? No. Do you think our struggles are the same? Do you think God forgot you and remembered me? Or do I think God remembered you and forgot me? No. When you look at what we've been through, we've all sat right now where the children of Israel are. Look at so many families in the church. How does it start out? First, most time the kids start coming, right? That's why we have importance on Kids Crusade. If we can reach the kids, and a lot of people, if you don't come to Kids Crusade or Vacation Bible School, whatever you want to call it, I'm promising you, you're missing out. When you start seeing these kids, they'll look, grown adults, oh, the puppets are stupid. Am I wrong, Miss Carol? But it gets to the kids. When you do the classes and the skits, Brother Jim, does it not get to the kids and it re-illustrates? Miss Colvin, when they see the different props and all the hard work that's put in, does it not affect them? They get to see. So now guess what? They go home, and now what happens? They start coming, and then what happens? The wife starts coming. The husband's too lazy. He doesn't know his role. He's too proud. He ain't got time. He works too hard during the week. So now it's mother and kids. And what happens over time when that relationship's starting to build? Most of the time what happens? Most of the time then the dad wakes up and comes. But it's just like the children of Israel. That's the same scenario. The same exact. It's a miniature Egypt and Israel. When you stop and you think, do you think the husband is so hip on his wife going off somewhere? No. He still wants that Sunday dinner made, right? When you stop and you think, it's the same scenario. It's the same way for how Israel was. How do you get out of slavery? You have to be emancipated, right? How do you get emancipated? a Savior. Someone has to step in for you, right? Someone's got to pay for you. Just like God did for the children of Israel. He stepped in. Just like in the scenario I just gave with the Kids Crusade. Someone's got to step in. Someone's got to give their time up to do the puppets, to get the music, to get and teach. So many people have got to give up their time, their efforts to make sure the props and everything, the literature and all that we're giving the children is correct, it's right. Somebody's got to drive the van, Brother Jesse, and get them here. That's not always easy, is it? When you're going into projects, after you've got off work, you got to run here, jump on the van, make sure everything's there, the car seat, go get them. They're hanging from the seats, they're flipping over the seats. They won't listen, they're screaming, they're yelling. But yet, guess what? By the end of the week, what's happening? They don't want to leave. They want to stay. They're still grown adults talking that come to Kids Crusade here, still talking about the food fight, Miss Carol. How did they learn that? From Kids Crusade, the puppets. So if they remember that, hopefully they'll remember the lesson and the time the teachers have put into it. Stop and think. How did Ruth get where she was? Boaz. But she had to go through these different scenarios so Boaz could be there. And it could work out in God's planning, God's timing. And what was the result of that? Do what? And eventually who else? Christ. So when you think you're going through struggles, I go back to Mr. Milton again. If you think that cancer was bad, how much around you has been affected? Your kids, your family, your relatives, the nurses. In God's plan, He used you for something very awesome. When you understand who God is, the suffering is not that great. I told a friend of mine, naturally, I'm just like anyone else. Me and Stacy, we're just humans. We're weak. And I called a friend of mine. I said, I'm done with her. I'm over. I want to come move in with you. I want a divorce. You know what he said? He said, come on. He said, I need to see something before you come. Okay, what's that? He said, I want to see the scars on your head. I'm like, okay, I got a few. He goes, no, from that crown of thorns. I want to see where the nails went through your hands. And I want to see where you were cut in your side. So if you think you've been through struggles so bad that you're willing to break your promise with her, if you can't show me that, you haven't been through no trials or tribulations. You ain't been through nothing yet. You're throwing a temper tantrum pity party. I was like, you're a friend of mine. He goes, yeah, it's called tough love. That was the best advice. Because I understood. There's a reason. Your next one, for number 2, a relationship. Relationship. When you stop and you think, can anyone remember their wedding vows? For richer or poorer, sickness or health? Now I got a question. So explain why divorces are how they are nowadays. Why? We forgot those promises. We want it our way. Our marriages, our families, they're not made by Burger King. When you stop and you think, it's not your way all the time. Your next blank is choice. A gracious choice. We have to have compassion. If a husband and wife, picture as a canoe, if they're paddling on the same side of the canoe, how far is that canoe going to go? Not very far. You're going to go round and round and round. But what happens when you see two different perspectives and you compromise and you get your strokes in sync with each other? What's that canoe going to do? It's going to go straight. How is your marriage going to be when both of you compromise? It's going to be so much more smooth. The care, that's your next one, care. Care. God cared for them. When Pharaoh increased their burdens, who gave them the energy? Who gave them the crops? Who made them be bountiful? God didn't forget them. God was still answering all their needs. Your next is remembrance. Remembrance. That's why it's important for us to see where God has carried us from. Because if you know who God is, and you know where He's brought you through, when something else bad happens, what can derail you? If you think Satan's going to leave you alone, no, that's not going to happen. But look in your life what God has brought you through. How can you go against Him? Why would you go against Him? Your next, the land. To give them the land. God's preparing us a place. Is it for here? No. He's promised to give us a home in heaven. This is just, I call it more of we're just working through. It's letting us know and preparing us when we do get to heaven, that God is there for us. And then finally, a legacy. When you stop and you think, how would y'all like to have been Abraham? Do you understand how mighty his seed would be? And how much it would be multiplied? Do you think he ever even fathomed that his seed right now would be one of the strongest countries still today? I don't care who you are, where you're from. Everybody knows if you go against Israel, what's going to happen. Very quickly. Now, Israel was very, very big, right? No, they're small. But for such a small nation, they're very tenacious. They don't give up. They don't stop Adolf Hitler gave his soldiers drugs, narcotics to fight on, to make them that tenacious. The Israeli army today doesn't. Why not? Do you think they may know something? They've been through the battles. They know who the outcome is going to be. When you get a proper perspective on who God is, there's nothing God can't save you from or bring you out of. It says, it gives another cute story in here about a mother. She was so upset at the children. Let me go to it. It said a woman had 2 children who were hard to handle sometimes. Have any of us had those situations? Hard to handle children? Trust me, my mother did have it because there was 4 of us and I was the most common one. After another especially frustrating day, she told her husband that she was going to sell the kids. With a look of amusement, her husband told her that she was crazy. Why do you think he said you're crazy? Okay? No, the reason he said she was crazy, he didn't think no one else would buy them. When you stop and you think, God's brought us through so much, and He's just begun. He's just beginning. Miss Kathy, there's going to be a lot of train wrecks. There's a lot of heartaches. But when you look at it, look at the legacy. When you stop and you look at Miss Julia, the mother she has become, now that legacy extends to her kids, which hopefully will be handed on to another set of kids. Was that train wreck worth it? That pain, that suffering? When you look, like Miss Carol, the suffering, the pain she goes through getting ready for Kids Crusade. Why does she get so spun out? Because she wants it perfect. She wants, when the kids see it, she wants the best. Miss Colvin has it. The struggles, how many hours listening, organizing, getting performances straight. Actors not always doing what they should. Ad-libbing, changing. The lighting, the sound system working proper. There's a lot of work, right? But why do you struggle with that? Because you want those kids from here to go out, to bring their mother in, to bring their father in. Think about that this week. Pastor gave a survey. Why? Because if we throw our Masters Club back wide open, how many van trips did we normally have to make, Brother Jesse? 3. And that was when we were running 3 vans. So 3 times 15 times 3. That's how many kids were we bringing in? A lot. We were bringing so many in that we bought buses. How often have those buses run? Stop and think about this week. Think of what God has brought you through, be in remembrance of the legacy. Now I pick on Miss Barbara. At your age, you're just beginning. You're amazing. There's so much we can do. We can't give up. We're just travelers through here. Think about that this week. Are we going to have a legacy for our children? Are we going to be like the Israeli army? We got to fight. The wolves are at the door. You either push the wolves away or you let them in. Your pick. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time to just come into your church and your house. We thank you for